Hello everyone, and welcome. This is a new segment that I plan on putting on for my channel, which is going to be full of opinions and info and maybe even a little bit of debate here and there. This is Johnny Talks. So for today, we are going to talk about something I wanted to talk about for quite a bit now. And it's something that's really popular at the moment, and I think you guys would like my opinion on this. Which, right now, we are going to talk about the Resident Evil 2 remake. So we as Resident Evil fans have been waiting a long time for this to happen. And we can't be any more happier. And in my opinion, you can't remake a game the same way it was... Sorry, there's a bit of icing or something on my paper. Chocolate, apparently. You can remake a game the same way that it was. This was proven with Crash Bandicoot Remastered and the up-and-coming Spyro Remastered. But there's a few things that I believe Capcom should change with this remake. Some are minor and some are greater and some you might find make sense or might not. Now, keep in mind, this is based on a few things about the demo at the E3 and what was cut mostly from the Resident Evil 1.5 demo. So let's talk about them today. More character development. We learned a lot about half of the Resident Evil cast. Chris being an ex-Air Force pilot and Jill being an ex-Army soldier. We even learned about Steve Burnside, where his father worked for Umbrella and how his mother was killed. Hell, we learned quite a bit about Lisa Trevor through notes in the game about how her father or grandfather was the one that made the mansion. I mean, I can't remember which one it was, but we learned a lot about her. But there isn't really much we know about some of the Resident Evil 2 characters. I think I know more about William Birkins than I do about Leon, Ada, Claire, Sherry all together. When looking up certain things about the characters, it listed that Leon broke up with an ex and got drunk, which caused him to be late to Raccoon City. Where was that in the game? I'm not saying it wasn't there, and I'm not saying that it's not true, but I sure as hell don't remember that. I'm pretty sure I would have remembered if Leon sat there and he told Claire in the car, hey, you know, I just broke up with my ex and I got shit-faced the night before. And that's why I got late to my apparent Resident Evil Raccoon City Police Department job application, whatever. I mean, we should learn more about some of the characters, even if it was a little bit. I'd be happy just knowing Leon became a cop just because it made great sense for him just to sit there and have a good paying job while he sat there, worked at the fast food place paying for a freaking studio apartment. It would make more sense. It would at least give some kind of backstory. Not saying that that's how it has to be. I don't want Capcom to sit there and actually make it that Leon worked at a fast food place before he became a cop. But, you know, at least it would be something, you know? There's even great chances for scenes with character development. In the Dark Side Chronicles, it shows a scene where Annette Birkin is about to shoot Williams, and as she is talking to him, he looks at his ring that is still on his mutated hand. Great moment for character development. If Capcom is planning on making this remake, and if they want to make it great, I think that they should add more character development. Some removed contents. Now, if you haven't heard already, Resident Evil 2 Remake will feature a DLC that allows you to change Claire's skin to Elsa Walker, their original cut character she was going to be. But there's more chances for other cut content that I think should be in this game. Even if it was an extra hard mode or an archived mode or something like that. Here's a small list of cut monsters I think that they should possibly add into Resident Evil 2's remake. This is going to be a quick list, and the monsters that you're going to see are going to have some small explanations. Not great explanations. If you want to know more, there's hundreds of videos out there that tells you about some of the cut monsters and what was in Resident Evil 1.5. First choice would be the zombie wildcat and the zombie apes. The zombie apes were originally added to Resident Evil 2, as shown in this video of the Resident Evil 1.5, the original demo. They were cut from what I'm guessing being too hard. I mean, think about it. A giant ape attacking you? That's got to be a pain in the ass. I mean, it's pretty much Rampage or Kong Skull Island at this point. As for the zombie wildcat, that was originally supposed to be in Resident Evil 3, but it was replaced to the Hunter Gamma in the park. It could work with Resident Evil 2, same as the apes it could have worked. I mean, the apes showed up in the Raccoon Police Department in a umbrella van. They could have done the same thing with the Wildcats. Why not? The Man Spider. Another monster that made it into the 1.5. Even got with a fight with the main character and Williams Birkins. I think it's an interesting concept because we deal with spiders all the time throughout the Resident Evil series. Every single Resident Evil game up until 7, there was always some kind of giant insect. Why not an insect-human hybrid? I mean, come on, that's a given. I mean, throughout the entire Resident Evil series, we've always seen giant spiders, or giant insects for that matter. Why not a giant human insect hybrid? That's pretty much a given with Umbrella's freaking work permits. The Laughing Killer. The Laughing Killer was supposed to be in Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles. No one knows what segment of the game he was supposed to be in, whether it was the Resident Evil 2 segment or the Code Veronica segment. But it would be pretty scary to have him in 2. I mean, look at the pictures that I'm showing you. That screams Resident Evil 2 scary hypeness, especially since Capcom is sitting there using the RE7 engine to make it more scary. Although, since Resident Evil 2 did have the liquor introduced, I'm willing to overlook this creature as long as they keep the liquor. The reason I say as long as they keep the liquor is because based on the demo that was shown at E3, the liquor was not introduced the same way as it was in the game. So, I'm hoping they keep the liquor, and maybe they just changed how he showed up, because he did show up right at the beginning of the game. But let's hope that they at least kept the liquor. The Mimic Creature. The Mimic Creature has two concepts. The first is the plant, which I am not talking about. We have way too many plant creatures in Resident Evil. I mean, you could say that with the spider creatures and the insect creature with this man spider, but I still think it would have been a hell of a lot scarier with the man spider. The one that I am talking about is the squid-looking one that can morph into objects as camouflage. In this picture, you can see that he morphs into either a rock, side of a wall, or even a tree. You mean to tell me you wouldn't want to have a few jump scares with this damn thing? Golgotha and Zerum. Both of these creatures didn't make it out of the concept. They could have been in the final bosses instead of William Birkins, but not entirely sure on how they would have implemented them in the game in the first place. But think about it, if they did do an archived version where they have these creatures in the game, it would be pretty interesting to see them instead of William Birkin's GForm. Just a thought. You know, archived version could sit there and be unlocked if you beat the game on hard mode. The Zombie Horse. This creature could have made it the same way as the ape and the Wildcats. Brought in from the Umbrella Zoo. Why not? I'm pretty sure at this point, since Umbrella owned Raccoon City pretty much, I'm pretty sure they owned the zoo. If they were able to test all these different animals. You know, I mean, based on the concept art, I don't think we should have him as big as he is, because he's, 3 times the size of a normal horse. Have him as a normal horse. Have him trample the characters or something. Push him into a wall, something. Eat their fingers like they think it's carrots. Last but not least, the one thing that I do suggest that Capcom should put into the Resident Evil remake, Annette Birkin's GForm. William Birkins kills his wife while he's infected with the G-Virus. While he's mutated with the G-Virus. So his body is pretty much covered in the G-Virus. And Annette was killed by Williams. And Capcom did have the idea. There is concept art that I'm showing right now, where she turned into a GForm. And this was due to the fact that since William killed her, and how the G-Virus works, that's what transformed her. I think it's definitely worth seeing. You mean to tell me you wouldn't, sit there and see what Sherry's reaction is? Seeing her parents, both her parents, turn into G-Form monsters? Especially since based on the Darkside Chronicles, she hated her parents, or she hated her mother specifically. Dialogue and camera angles. Some dialogue has changed over different adaptations that would make a great addition to the remake. Fix some of the dialogues they would in the first place, but some things could be added as well. An example would be in the Darkside Chronicles when Leon fights the T-00.
It's Trenchy again!
He calls him Trenchy to grab his attention. I think that would bring more character to Leon, so you could put this as the first part, I guess, more character development. it's just one example of many others, and I'm pretty sure you could find other examples sitting there and looking at some of the other Resident Evil games, such as Darkside Chronicles, maybe even Umbrella Chronicles, but that doesn't really have much of Leon in it, so I don't blame you if you don't look at that. One thing I do like about what they did with the game is that they put the third-person camera perspective. I love how they did the third-person camera perspective for Resident Evil 2's remake. The third person has always been my favorite since Resident Evil 4, and it works well with Leon for some reason. Maybe it's the hair, I don't know. But I think that they should bring homage for the static camera, or fixed camera as most people call it. Make it as a setting, you know, make it as a setting that you can sit there and set up for the game, or maybe make it unlockable, like in the Lost Nightmare DLC for Resident Evil 5, where you had to click on the door several times, and when you see the question marks, it changed the perspective of the game to bring you back to what it was like with Resident Evil 1. I'm not saying make the whole game as the camera's perspective, because like I said, I do love the third-person camera perspective. But I do think that, since this is a remake, they should at least have some kind of homage to the original as far as the camera. I mean, let's face it, Resident Evil 2 is everybody's favorite, and it has the camera. It's like getting rid of a really important aspect, even for the game of its time. Hunk mode, or the Forced Survivor mode. Back on the original Resident Evil 2, there was a mode that you had to unlock known as the Forced Survivor, where you played as Hunk, aka Mr. Death. It explains a little bit more of the story of Umbrella's side, and it was a great addition to the original. It explained about how Hunk fought Williams, and they also made kind of a mention to it with the Operation Raccoon City version of it. At the beginning, it was the first mission you did. It was a pretty interesting concept. But you mean to tell me that you wouldn't want to play as Hunk with the Resident Evil 7 engine? If Capcom does not put that in, then they need to sit there and reimagine a lot of things. Not just the games, but maybe part of their company. Tying loose ends. Now this might sound a little bit strange, but hear me out. How many games in the series mention Resident Evil 2? You have the Darkside Chronicles, you have Operation Raccoon City, you even have Outbreak 1 and 2, which in all of them, they have some sort of different ending for Resident Evil 2. Raccoon City has a good example, as you had the Umbrella security forces chase Claire and Leon in Raccoon City while the mercenary force protects them. That was never in the original 2. Out of the 4 games I listed, the only one that shows the ending of 2 somewhat properly was Darkside Chronicles. Some of the stuff was pretty alright, but it wasn't canon at all. I realized that Operation Raccoon City wasn't that much of the series, but it threw people off. They should at least make an ending that it ties it all together. You know, make it make sense for the other games. Even if Operation Raccoon City was crap, they should still sit there and make homage to it. It was a great part and a great addition to the Raccoon City side stories. And that's all I have for what I would like to see in the Resident Evil 2 remake. If you have any suggestions or notice something I missed, please write in the comments. This was the first segment of Johnny Talks, and I hope you all enjoyed it. There will be more of the segment with more games and more info. If you want specific games for me to talk about or to tell you about, you know, cut contents there and all that, feel free to let me know, write in the comments, or send me a message. For now, I'm Troublesome Johnny, and I will see you all later. Bye!